Thank you. I really appreciate the opportunity to be here and to meet with your chamber and the GAC again on this issue. This is a very important issue for the state of California, and I believe it's something that is imperative that your chamber address, and I'm so pleased that you are. Proposition 98 is a reaction to the Kelo decision that came out of the Supreme Court several years ago. The Kelo decision was in reference to a homeowner, and Proposition 98 goes much further than reforming eminent domain for just homeowners. And one of the biggest problems with it is in Section 3, it defines private use as the transfer of ownership, occupancy, or use of private property or associated property rights to a public agency for the consumption of natural resources or for the same or substantially similar use as that made by the private owner. In response to that, the Farm Bureau is a huge supporter of Proposition 98, but Western Growers, which represents many of our large farming organizations here in the Valley, had this to say about that particular section. It says, "We have read and considered the competing legal analyses from counsel retained by Farm Bureau, SOMAC analysis, and counsel retained by the initiative opponents, Martland analysis. The question is not whether one is right and the other wrong. The question is whether the Martland analysis is plausible. We believe it is, which means we are left with an open question that can only be resolved by the courts, assuming voters approved the initiative in June 2008. This is an unacceptable risk." The importance of water here in the Valley is not only for our farms, which is the backbone of our economy here in the Valley, but it's also very important for development. When you sit in planning meetings and you are seeing developments being approved or being voted down, one of the most important questions that is always asked is, where is the water going to come from for these houses, for this development? And if this does give environmental groups another tool on which they can sue a proposed water project, that creates a problem not only for our farmers, but also for development here in the Valley and growth. So that's a major concern. In terms of who thinks this concern is plausible, ACWA, the Association of California Water Agencies, the largest water agency group in the state, thinks it's a problem. Western Growers thinks it's a problem. Cal Chamber thinks it's a problem. Metropolitan Water District thinks it's a problem. And here in our own backyard, the Friant Water Users Authority thinks it's a problem, and they have opposed it. And here to explain further the problems caused by this particular section in terms of water is Mario Santoyo, sorry. And he will explain a little bit more about what this proposition will do to water projects here in our state and in our valley.
Good afternoon. I was asked to basically come in and kind of speak on my area of expertise, which is the water, and the work we're doing to try to build new infrastructure with the governor and so forth. And our board last week did take a position on this, which was basically an opposition position. Our board feels pretty strongly that this does have the provisions that could hinder the construction of new infrastructure, and given the complexity and difficulty we've had over the past number of years to just try to advance a water infrastructure legislation, this would be detrimental to it. I'm not speaking against what the proposition is intended to do in general, but the way it's written right now, it does create serious problems in terms of advancing new infrastructure. I can speak to you in terms of the difficulty of not having precise language in any kind of laws or statutes or any of that. And I can refer to you as to the litigation that we spent 18 years fighting over. It was one paragraph. It was clear to some people. It was very unclear to the rest of us. At the end of the day, we lost 20% of our water supply. So, the only thing I would tell you, again, is I'm not telling you how to vote on this. I am telling you from being an expert representing 15,000 farmers throughout the Valley, Eastside Valley, and for being basically working with you, trying to advance new water infrastructure, particularly Temperance Flat, which would be impacted from our perspective if this were to move forward with the way the language reads right now. I guarantee you a tough battle would become an impossible battle for us. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Maureen.